Who's the most surprising person you've ever bonded with over weed?
Well, George W. Bush at his house in Penny Bunkport, he was like, "Can you please take your sunglasses off?" when he was showing me his art collection. And I was like, "No, Mr. President, I'm as high as a kite right now."
Hey y'all, welcome back to Sorry We're Cyrus. We have a really exciting episode in store for you guys today. I've been looking forward to this for weeks. We have Chelsea Handler here. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Hi, ladies.
I'm
Hello.
so excited. I mean, honestly, I kept saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure she's coming on?" No, I just honestly love everything that you do and stand for, and
Thank
I'm
you.
honored.
Thank you. Well, I'm very happy to be here, ladies.
We're excited. I feel like you guys are going to be like two peas in a pod over
Oh
a
my
lot of
God.
things.
I think we've met before, and we were just trying to figure out where, and if it was at Beecher's Madhouse.
I definitely remember that we were backstage somewhere, and Beecher was absolutely there.
Yeah.
So
Right. The little nugget, right?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
That little flying nugget.
So
He was around Miley a lot during that time. And
He
I remember
was.
she did the last episode of my show, Chelsea Lately. She sang, she wrote a song for it.
Oh, yeah,
that is
tracks.
hilarious.
Yeah. So, but you weren't there, I don't think, that day.
No, I think I was.
Oh, okay. So that's another time we've met.
Okay.
So you were there that day. And then there's something else. I'll remember right after I leave.
Of
Well,
course, yeah, that's always how it works, right?
I know I always jump right in, but now that I've read your book, there's even more I feel
I know there's a lot of
there's a lot of
things.
similarities.
Well, let's tell the stuff. So our listeners are called the Stoners.
I
So you'll
love
probably
it.
you'll probably hear
Oh.
me say that a lot. This podcast used to be called Sorry We're Stoned
Okay.
because Tish used to smoke a lot of weed.
Right. I remember that about
Yes,
you.
which
That's
would've-
probably how we met, actually.
Yeah,
Maybe.
which would have been so fun,
Yeah,
if that
yeah.
was still happening. But she did a pivot, so we've done a pivot.
Oh, okay. So, but are you still smoking weed?
I never smoked weed.
Oh, you never did. It was just
No.
yeah,
It was
okay.
just me,
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're done.
unfortunately. It wasn't on purpose.
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's
I'm devastated. It's my favorite thing in the entire world.
yeah, that's it's a bummer.
But all of a sudden, has it ever started to give you anxiety?
No.
Really?
No, all of a sudden, we went on vacation somewhere that I was afraid to bring it with me.
Uh-huh.
3 days in, I started having horrible freaking anxiety like you can't believe
Because you didn't have it.
because I didn't
Yeah.
have it. Then when I came home and tried to smoke, it made it even worse. And now it's been 7 months of no smoking
Oh.
and 7 months of horrific anxiety. And so your book, we'll get into it where you talk about doing therapy for 2 years. I have done nothing for 7 months but therapy, trying to figure out what is happening to my brain.
Oh yeah. And what is happening?
I
Did you
don't
find
know.
anything out?
I'm just now coming out of it, but I think it was I had a lot of unresolved trauma, a lot of stuff that happened. My mom died, a divorce, getting remarried, all these things, and I was just high during it all.
Right, of course.
And then when I wasn't high, they're saying all this trauma is just coming out.
Resurfacing because you're numbing yourself with the marijuana, right? And so it's
Yes.
resurfacing. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I think that's what everybody is doing when we overuse something, right?
Yeah.
Which is a bummer. I had a boyfriend once say to me when I was 18 years old, he goes, "I never want to abuse alcohol because I don't ever want to have to give it up."
Yep.
And I was
Yeah.
like, that's the one takeaway that I'm going to take from this relationship because I really like that advice.
Mm.
So it's true because we're the worst self-monitors, right? You're never going to say, maybe I should cool
I
it.
know.
Unless,
And I was smoking a lot.
Mm.
I mean, a lot.
Well, but I also think I've gone through phases where I've overdone drugs or I've smoked too much pot and it has the adverse effect of what you started using it for. You know what I mean? When you abuse something, not to say you abused it, but obviously you did.
I abused it.
When you do that, then it starts to have the opposite effect, and then it's no longer what you came for.
I know. And the crazy thing is I would start back tomorrow, but in my brain, and I have that fear of doing, I don't know, there's just this whole association with the panic and the anxiousness around it. So I think I would be in my head so much, I wouldn't enjoy it, but I'm praying that one day I can go back.
I'm going to pray for you too.
Please do.
What about drinking? Can you drink?
I've never been a drinker.
Oh,
She
really?
hasn't really. Yeah.
No.
What about you? You don't smoke or drink?
I do drink.
Oh, you drink, yeah.
I'm a DJ.
Oh, okay.
So
Got
it's-
it.
if
Copy
you-
that.
I've been doing it now for like 6 or 7 years DJing. So like in the beginning, I found it really hard to like get in the vibe and stay up late without having some drinks.
Yeah.
But it's funny now that I've been around more DJs and been in so many clubs, there are a lot of DJs that are sober.
Well, yeah, because
Probably
they have to get sober. Because,
yeah, exactly. So I've pumped the brakes on it a bit. I took liquor off my rider last year and just replaced it with champagne. Because for some reason champagne does not give me hangovers, which is
that's
great for me.
interesting.
I know. Everyone's like, "Are you sure?"
Usually that's the opposite for people,
so
right?
yeah, it is. So I just try to drink some champagne and not really try to drink liquor in the club anymore. But but nobody in our family has really been big on drinking ever.
No.
Like when I was growing up, neither her or my dad drank. I never saw them drink in the house ever. And then when I became an adult and started to want to have a freaking whiskey at Thanksgiving, the whole family's like, "You're an alcoholic, Brandi. We never would have imagined you would be the alcoholic of the family." I'm like, guys, I'm having one drink. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Let's
No,
mix
we
it
totally
better.
overreacted. Yeah.
You guys did, yeah.
That's really funny.
Insane.
What about edibles? Have you tried to have an edible?
No, I'm scared.
You're scared.
Your one
yeah.
edible story came from Beechers.
It did?
Yeah, you accidentally ate the weed brownie.
Oh my God, that
at
was a
Well, those are
nightmare.
lethal. Brownies are really.
I didn't know it had weed in it. And it was Miley's birthday at Beechers. And I got home, went to bed, and woke up 2 hours later on like a different freaking planet. And thought I was dying and called Miley and was freaking out. And she explained to me that I had a weed brownie. And that do not go to the hospital, but it was not good. Yeah.
Nobody has a good story about a weed brownie. Conversely, I'm very sorry to hear about that you having to quit marijuana for a while. I would just like to conversely go on the record and say that I am indestructible when it comes to drugs. I could take a whole pan of brownies that have been infused with cannabis. You could put anything in there and I will be solid.
Really?
I have some sort of chromosome. Like if I drink 7 drinks, I'll get buzzed. But anything underneath that is just a light sway for me. Like my brothers and sisters are fascinated. And I'm a first generation like drug user, alcohol.
Okay.
I've abused alcohol definitely in my life and things are going pretty great with it. So I just like don't want people to give up hope. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I mean,
and you're
that
so tiny. I'm so shocked you can
Well,
drink
I
that
work
much.
out all the time, no matter
Oh.
what. I don't
Yeah.
really get hangovers and I don't drink every single day, but I like to drink and I
Mhm.
don't want to give it up. So
Yeah.
during the times in my life or whenever someone said like, "Hey, you're going a little too hard" or whatever, I've always listened and been like, "Okay, thank you for telling me." Pulled back, gotten my shit together and, recalibrated.
Yeah.
Because it changes with age, everything changes, and you have to constantly check in and see what your tolerance levels are. But I am very interested in maintaining this relationship with cannabis, alcohol, and various other things, quite frankly, for the rest
Yeah.
of my life.
Oh,
I
I'm
love it.
ready to try some other things as well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I've never done psychedelics or acid or any of the things, but I'm very interested.
Well, and also everything's microdosed now.
I
So
know,
you can
we were
always
just
just
talking
do a
about that.
little bit of something, which is a much different experience than like tripping, in Joshua Tree for 3 days
Yes.
on
Mhm.
ayahuasca.
I know. No,
You don't wanna do
one's-
that.
That's
Mm.
definitely not.
Have
for
you
me.
dabbled with microdosing mushrooms or anything?
Oh yeah, I dabble with all of it all the
Yeah.
time. LSD, mushrooms. First of all, it's such a great energy inducer when you are tired or you're not feeling creative. Like if I'm trying to get creative, if I'm trying to write, or if I'm trying to write stand up, or just I always am like, oh, let me take a little bit of this and to just kind of get more relaxed.
Totally.
Yeah.
About what you're, not to be too in your head, like
I know.
let it flow.
Well, and see, that's what I liked about you on weed was
Oh.
she does tend to get like very in her head. And I don't know, like she just has so much of a filter when she's sober. And then she'd smoke a little weed and all of a sudden she just wouldn't be overthinking everything.
Right.
Honestly, when I
Right.
was at the height of my smoking, I was thriving.
It's true.
Absolutely thriving. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. And it's for me, like I was just talking about therapy. Like I say, like it makes me sad that I can't smoke right now.
Yeah, I hear it. I
Like,
feel you. And I
like
feel like you're going to be able to smoke again.
okay,
I think you have
good.
to resolve all of this stuff. You said you're wrapping it up, and I think it's going to have a different impact on you.
Okay, good.
And then you can just try and have a hit, like, in a few months or whenever you're ready, and
Yes.
see how you react. You don't have to overdo it.
Yes.
Well, it's going to be impossible to keep going without getting into your new book.
I think we should
which-
keep talking about drugs for the
Well,
whole
we
hour.
are. We
my
are.
God.
We're going to keep talking
Why
about drugs
not?
because
I
you
mean,
talk about
seriously.
you do talk about drugs quite a bit in the book.
Yes.
Not quite a bit,
Yes.
but you touch on it here and there, and it's definitely like a prevalent topic. The book's called "I'll Have What She's Having." It comes out on your 50th birthday, right?
Yes.
So sick.
Wait, when's that?
February 25th is my 50th birthday.
So this week is her birthday.
Uh-huh.
The book comes out, and something that you touched on in the book that I feel like is relevant here is you talked about doing a lot of therapy, and there's that, and I've done some therapy too, and there's definitely like you go and you're taking in all this information that they're saying like on surface level, and then you talked about having to like leave therapy and then apply it to your life and actually learn like, okay, now I have all this knowledge about how to better myself or move in a different direction, but how do I actually do it? And I feel like that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah, because I go and then, but I like your book really did inspire me. And
Oh, thank
I
you.
would say every single woman like needs to read your book because I've always, and I was adopted. I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I have this fear of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And like reading your book and knowing, like reading about how like you actually enjoy your alone time and like being alone in a lot of ways and the things that you do and you read and learn and all and like it really was inspiring for me to go. And honestly, I loved that since you were young, you kind of knew the woman you wanted to be. And then throughout the book, it was like in relationships and different things of being like, well, if I stay on this path, this is not conducive to the woman that I want to be.
Yeah.
And I literally have chill bumps because like
Chill bumps.
I do.
She's too
That's the
cute. Oh, I
southern-
see him.
That's the Southern way of saying
Chill
goosebumps. I love it.
I literally do. And it was just like, it honestly really inspired me. And it also I call this my anxiety era. Reading that you kind of went through therapy for 2 years, but I feel like you applied a lot of things where I'm not learning to apply. Like, do you journal?
I don't journal, no.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever be able to be bothered doing that. But I feel like I do stand up
Yes.
and I write books, and all of those things are journaling too.
Yeah.
And, but like it is true. I can relate to what you're, I think, saying right now before you even say it, because you were just talking about being in therapy for 7 months, you said.
Yeah.
So it is such a process because you go and when I came out of therapy, I was so excited about all the new information I had gathered and gleaned, and that I was such a good student. I was like, I'm a good student. I got this. Like, I'm going to get an A+. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I couldn't wait. I wrote my last book about the whole experience because I wanted to share everything that I learned about that. But when I came out of that and got it all out, which was really cathartic, you're left with like, oh, wait, I know all this information, but now I have to make it apply it to my actual life. First, you need to absorb what you've learned, because first you can hear things in therapy and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Jackpot. And then you have to like absorb it. It's almost like, how you go to school and then there's summer school. I mean, there's summer break, and the summer break is there for you to apply, like to absorb what you learned during the year, really.
Yeah.
Like if you think about the time spent in the classroom, they arranged it in such a way that like, that then you absorb what you learn. And then the next step is having to apply it and becoming this newer, better version of yourself. And that can be a lonely road.
It seems like the hardest part.
That
It
is
is
the hardest
hard because
part.
I feel like I'm kind of at that point
Yeah.
where now that I'm kind of coming out a little bit of the other side, people are expecting me to kind of like have figured it out and have grown from the experience. And honestly, I just want to smoke pot.
I know. We all know. Anyone listening to this knows that
Like,
you want to smoke pot.
I mean, I just want to freaking smoke pot. But I'm supposed to have this big learning experience, which I feel like I have learned a lot.
I'm sure you have. There's no way you could go to therapy for 7 months and not learn stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly,
for a while, I was just trying to get by, like, I get through the day.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling so much better. But honestly, I say this with all honesty about the book, like it is freaking incredible.
Thank you.
And like it I don't know why, like, it just, like, really, truly inspired me in so many ways, and it's funny, like, the beginning first of all, Miley, I feel like you and Miley have a lot of very similar qualities.
Yeah.
The fact that you were doing hard lemonade when you were, like,
It's too
10
good.
as a lemonade stand is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Miley and I definitely have some qualities in common.
You do.
But I think like that is what I think we can all, as like women, relate to the idea of like, who do you want to be? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? When you grow up, who do you want to be? People always spent time asking us, what do you want to be?
Yeah.
And I was always thinking when I was a little girl, who do I want to be? Like, what kind of woman do I want to be? And when do I get to be a woman? Because when I was born, even when I was like 2, 3 years old, I felt like a woman.
You
Like
say
I
that.
wanted to be a woman. I was like, what is this baby bullshit? Like I was trapped in this little baby's body.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to bloom into my future. You know what I mean? I wanted to get the party started.
I think that's how Molly was too.
Yeah.
I
right.
wasn't like that.
No.
No.
What were you like?
I just
You
don't ever remember being like, what is the woman I want to be?
Right.
Like, I don't think
You were
I
just
even
like
asked.
living it
I
up.
think I've just been living it up and have just now started to ask myself that.
Well, isn't that's interesting too? Because I
Yeah.
think it's a question that we don't ever get through our lives without asking. Like if it's not there, if that question isn't there when you are young, it certainly does arrive
Yeah.
later in life because you have to start thinking about, who are you? What are the choices that you've made? What do you stand for?
Totally.
Do people know after they've met you what you stand for? Like, what kind of do you make people feel good? Do you make people feel bad? I went through a period of my life where I hurt a lot of people's feelings, even on my TV show, and I didn't think anything of it because I was having so much success. But it's like, oh, that was insensitive. How do I feel about that now? Would I repeat that? Would I do that again? When you know better, do you do better? Like Oprah
Right.
tells us.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything's very kind of complex and there's not one way to think about it. But I think it's so much more interesting to be invested in the person that you become,
Yeah.
and be aware of the effect that you're having and to actually have an effect,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
Yeah, for sure.
That I feel like I've been good at. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm really good at making people feel good and being
Oh, totally.
and that.
Yeah.
But I also had 5 kids. So I
Yeah.
didn't have time to think about any of
Right,
it. I was
right.
just like raising kids. That's and I think that's another thing is like now that all the kids are grown, it's like I still manage Miley on a daily and do this podcast and I'm with my kids a lot, but it's a big change going from that chaos
Right.
to no chaos.
And now you have a different husband.
that has no chaos.
Uh-huh.
Like Miley literally tells me that all the time. Like, Mom, like you're in a place now that you don't have anybody to fix. Like,
Yeah.
so now you're just like,
So now you're blossoming
yes.
even more.
So it's, so all that's been kind of crazy. And
Also, when you have 5 children, no one's sitting around going, what kind of woman do I want to be
no.
during that time? So yes, I understand.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
I have heard people rave about a company called Z Biotics, and their team just released another new product to help with everyday challenges. Because let's be for real, it is really hard to get a balanced diet every single day, especially when you're on the go and you're working all day. And, I just find it really hard to find a perfectly balanced diet, not to mention I love sugar. So I'm either eating too much of this and not enough of that. Anyway, I have just started using the sugar to fiber probiotic mix, and I'm using it every day. And it makes today's diet less difficult to keep things balanced. So extra sugar is found in so many foods. And if you're like me and you love sugar, no matter how hard I try, I'm also not eating as much fiber as I want. So the PhD microbiologists over at ZBiotics understand that extra sugar is all about impossible to avoid these days. And 95% of Americans don't get enough fiber. I'm definitely one of those people. So they've genetically engineered a probiotic to convert extra sugar from our everyday diet into a prebiotic fiber called Levan. This leads to a more balanced microbiome. We're hearing so much about your gut health these days. So if you stick 1 pack of the sugar to fiber in your smoothies, your morning coffee, your water, you'll get the daily dose of fiber from the foods you already eat. So go to zbiotics.com/sorrywe'recyrus and use Sorry We're Cyrus at checkout for 15% off your first order of the Z-Biotics probiotics. Z-Biotics has a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason at all, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. And also, thanks Z-Biotics for sponsoring this episode.
All right, stoners, let's talk about peptides for a minute. If you're like me, you've literally seen this everywhere. You've heard people talking about peptides, but I'm here to let you know that just because something says a peptide on the label, it doesn't mean that it's actually doing anything for you. That's where OneSkin comes in and their OS01 peptide product. It's completely different. While some peptides just sit on top of your skin, OS01 goes deeper, and it's scientifically formulated to penetrate the cells within skin's deeper layers, and it improves key skin health markers like collagen production, hydration, and skin barrier function. OneSkin tested the efficiency of more than 900 so-called anti-aging peptides, and they developed the OS01 peptide, the first ingredient to reverse skin's biological age by reducing the accumulation of senescent cells. It's a key driver of skin aging. OS01 works at the cellular level to improve key aging biomarkers while reducing the visible signs of aging, which include lines, wrinkles, and sagging skin. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS01 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code CYRUS at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code CYRUS. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them that we sent you. So invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
And one of the other things I loved, and it reminded me so much of something Miley would do, is I love the letter you wrote to your family.
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
I liked that too.
Like,
Sure, they're going to
it's
love that when they
so-
see that. in
But
the
no,
book.
it's so good. And like Miley is she's so much that way about
Mhm.
setting boundaries
Mhm.
and like really kind of laying it out and like being honest and truthful with the people that you love,
Yeah.
you know, to make them better. And it blew me away because I was like, that is so Miley.
Well, because you also go through a period of time where, I mean, for me, actually, like even though I have this, people think like, very bold personality and I'm very self assured or confident or however people see it, like you want, I went through a period of time with my family too, just trying to make everyone happy. Like
I was gonna say that
really
about you.
wanted to
That's me.
share my success and making sure everyone felt taken care of. And I'm going to be the matriarch of this family and I'm going to take care of you and I'm going to send you to college and da-da-da. And then you realize like, what is that? Like, I'm not their mother. You're a mother. So that would make sense.
Totally.
But for me, it was like, wait, you're creating actually a kind of a little bit of a toxic situation.
Mm.
You're not everybody's mother. You're not everybody's matriarch. And you might be doing this just to make yourself feel good. Like you actually have to think about the impact it's having on your family and the kind of systems that you create in that family.
Yep.
Because obviously everyone is drawn to, whatever is going to be making the most money or the most generous or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's going to happen regardless.
Mhm.
So to take some responsibility of it back to yourself and go, wait a second, what am I doing here? Like I'm part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, something to bring up, like the letter touches on it. Something I admire so much about you is you're just so honest. You're so candid and you're so honest.
Thank you.
Where is the fine line between that honesty and that candidness and hurting people's feelings, right? Because I feel like for me, I sometimes have a problem speaking up about how I feel because I don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah.
And it's just such a fine line. And I would just love to hear from you, like when you are like talking to your sister or your or writing a letter to your family, like where do you find the line between like hurting their feelings?
Well, I learned a lot about that in therapy. Like I didn't know how to do that before without hurting people's feelings. But if your intention is to stand up for like create a boundary that is protective of you and the people that you love, you're not hurting anyone's feelings. If they want to take that personally, that's on them. You know what I mean? If you're criticizing somebody or if you're saying something hurtful to someone just to make them feel bad, then that's hurting their feelings.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm saying, hey, this doesn't feel good, I don't want you staying in my house for 3 weeks, how about a week or whatever? Like that kind of stuff, it's not my problem. I have every right to say that. I'm a 49-year-old, soon to be 50-year-old woman. Like I don't feel bad about creating boundaries anymore. I've been generous enough. I've
Yeah.
helped enough. Like, they know what I'm about. And if I say I don't feel comfortable with something, I expect that kind of respect back. Because if it is about, I'm not going to hurt your feelings. It's about me. It's not about
Yeah.
you.
Sure.
Do you think without therapy, like that you would have gotten to that place because you also, wait, what do you call her? Poopsie?
Poopsie whoopsie.
Poopsie
Poopsie, my
whoopsie.
babies.
And your babies, and that like you cared for them so much because it was like later in London when you see her and
Mhm.
she's 23 and she's gone through a divorce
Mhm.
and she's in not a great place, but you take it up on yourself to go, I need to build her up and make her feel confident, and you bring her back into the family unit.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's amazing.
Oh.
And like, I don't know that all women support other women that way. And do you think without therapy you would have been there, or have you always been that way?
I've always been like a big sister type because I was the youngest of 6. So all I ever wanted to do was be a big sister. So I've like in life, I'm like that, I would do that with a stranger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would for any woman that needed help. I would. I had a special bond with her. So I think our relationship happened before therapy and
Yes.
originally. So I think we would have carried on because of the therapy. I am actually much more responsible with my emotions and taking care of people. Like I'm much more patient with people. I don't lose patience like I used to. I'm much more understanding and empathetic.
Yeah.
So I don't know how our relationship would have changed. She always will have a soft spot in my heart. So I can't imagine therapy made it deeper because she already got me, when I
Yeah.
met her as a little girl.
Yeah.
But it definitely helped me be more reasonable, like about boundaries and
Yes.
about going too far to help people and letting people grow up and stumble and fall, which is a very difficult thing to do as a woman when you
Mhm.
have children that you love
Totally.
and anyone in your life. Like you don't want to see anyone you love in pain. You're like, no, let me just protect you. And then that becomes a problem also.
Oh, I fixed everything for everybody.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course.
That's what I did for all those years. I just fixed everything because I
Yeah,
didn't want
but that distracted you
I know.
from having to even think about yourself.
know.
Is the problem.
Yeah. And now I have no one to fix. So it's
You.
me.
Yeah.
Except
You're
me.
going to
Yeah.
have a book ready
Yeah.
after this.
Oh shit! There's so many books she could write.
Totally. Yeah.
I live
Yeah.
for the day.
And because I think Miley, Miley did therapy with Dr. Amen for like 10 years from the time definitely she talks to him still to this day, but she really did a lot of therapy from the time she was like 17 on. And she really learned about setting boundaries and all of because used to I love the part in the book where you talk about Jane Fonda.
Mhm.
First of all, obsessed. And so Miley loves Jane so much. And I think that before, I would have looked at that as I could have never done that. Like I could have never been Jane that says, I need
I
you to
know,
come.
right?
But honestly,
But it says so much
looking
about
at
her.
it now, I'm like, it was such a great thing that she did.
Amazing.
And I feel like Miley's very much like that too.
Mhm.
You know,
She's definitely getting that
she's
way.
very much getting that way.
Yeah.
Where Miley would see that as helping someone.
Yes.
Like, I'm not calling you over here to bitch you out. I'm calling you over
Right.
here.
See, I would be like, oh my God, that'll destroy them. That'll hurt their feelings. I could never.
And that's what I would do. I'm still like that.
But obviously that wasn't the case for you. Like you got. Do you guys still have a relationship to this day? I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it didn't ruin your friendship or anything.
No, because what I saw was that was an act of female. Like I have to help you as a woman to woman.
Yes.
I have to tell you what's going on. Her friends were ostracizing her. I wasn't really even in this friend group. I mean, I'm in a lot of friend groups peripherally, and this is one of them. And they were kind of talking. I mean, well, I'm talking about the girl I did it for in return for Jane Fonda, because Jane Fonda did it for me. She basically told me, get your shit together. You're acting like an asshole. I was badly behaved at one of her parties, and she called me to her house. And because of that experience with her, it was so cringe, obviously, to hear those things about yourself. To hear that whomever was at the party was complaining about me being at the party and being such an asshole to people. But in that same moment, I was so grateful that Jane Fonda was telling me the truth
Mm.
because my own friends weren't saying something like that to me. And she said it. And I knew, like, she doesn't have to do this. She doesn't have to call me over to her house, have her chef cook me dinner to tell me that I need to get my act together. And she wasn't like, you're an addict or you're an alcoholic. She's like, you're in a dark place. And I was in a dark place. Trump had just been elected. I went off the rails. I was just so unhappy. And that was the first time. So, but because of that experience with her, it made me realize how important that is, whether it's your close friend or not. So when it was my turn to do, like, I saw my friends, this friend group of mine, and there was one of them that was really off her rocker, really. Like, she was just a mess and ended up, on the floor in bathrooms at parties, and was at my house in my bathroom floor, like more than once. And I was like, and they were all talking about her behind her back. And I was like, you guys, you need to talk to her and tell her this, so she knows that she's not just being excluded, which is only going to drive her to drink and do more drugs. And when they didn't, I just thought that was craven. Like, I was like, that's not right. So when I called her over to my house, it was probably very hurtful for me. She was shocked. I mean, hurtful for her. I'm sorry. She was shocked, but she tells the story, which I tell in the book, that when they finally did have an intervention, she was never going to not be able to she was going to have to get sober at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those people who could take a break or something. And when she went to rehab finally and got sober, which she is today, and we're friends still. She was just at my house in Mallorca with me last summer, telling the story that when she was in rehab, they were like, who was the first person who told you had a problem? And she's like, well, Chelsea Handler. She said the whole group circle started laughing. They're like, are you fucking kidding me? And that the group leader was like, if Chelsea Handler tells you have a problem, you definitely have a problem.
Exactly.
And so it turned in, and she wrote me this really beautiful letter from rehab, thanking me for my honesty. And of course, in the moment, when you're like what you were Brandi saying, like, when do you know not to be hurtful? Like, there are certain areas like in the moment, what can seem harsh or maybe unnecessary, when you reflect back on it, for her, she was like, she's always like, that was amazing that you did that. Thank you for doing that. So in the moment, I'm sure it didn't feel good. Just like in the moment when I was with Jane and she said something to me, didn't feel good. I look back at that with such fondness with Jane Fonda fondness, because I'm like, wow. And I was just with her in Albuquerque a few weeks ago campaigning, and we were talking about it because I had to get her permission to use her real emails in my book,
Yep.
And Jane's a badass like that. She's just like, here, I'll try and handle this situation. We had a relationship. She could have just left me in the dust and not spoken to me again, but she chose to address it. And I respect that.
No, and honestly, when we think about, and you're saying, who is the woman you want to be? I want to be that woman.
You're right.
And I've always been so afraid of conflict or like saying something like that, because I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. But when I read your book, I realized, Jane cared enough to do that.
Yeah.
She and so I just saw that type of situation in such a different light.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, and me doing that for another person is a perfect example of like someone setting an example for you and you realizing, oh, that's good. I have been too judgmental in the past about people or their behaviors, because I've had certainly my episodes, but because I'm not like a sloppy drunk or a sloppy drug user, I'm not a hot mess. When people do act like that, I'm like, oh, come on, this is so high school. Like, get your shit together.
Yeah.
If you can't drink and use drugs responsibly, then skip it.
Exactly.
I'd rather not deal with you,
Yeah.
So I've been harsh in my kind of judgment of others, which that I could still use some work on. But as far as doing the right thing when it's about somebody's life, like, I feel very passionately, like she set the tone for me.
Yeah.
And I took it.
Yeah. Very cool. You have so many wild stories in the book. I personally love the story about Andrew Cuomo and your guys' sexting relationship, or the one-sided sexting relationship, I guess. But for you, what was the most fun story to write about and revisit during the writing process?
Well, one of the stories is my new stand-up special comes out next month on Netflix, and there's a couple stories in the book that I tell in stand-up because I tell many more details in the book because it's obviously a different medium than telling jokes on stage. You're looking for the punchlines. But I think one of my favorite stories to tell and like on stage is the Andrew Cuomo story, but to write
so
about was
funny.
the George Bush
That one
going
was
to
also good.
Kennebunkport because there
Amazing.
was so many layers of nonsense around that story. It just was the gift that kept on giving, starting from my family, like insisting I rent a house in Maine because they felt like going there for COVID because it was too depressing here, to not bringing my dogs and then having them
Oh my gosh.
driven across country by two crystal meth heads.
Absolutely died on that
I mean,
one.
I was like, what the fuck is wrong with my dogs? And my brother's like, what's wrong with your dog? They're detoxing from a crystal methamphetamine high speed car chase that
literally
you
dying.
sent them on across country because a governor wouldn't fuck you
It was
during
so
a
good.
global pandemic.
I was dying.
And thank God he did it in hindsight.
Seriously.
I know.
Geez, I
It
love
made
it
for a
so
great
much.
story. And also, if I had sex with him, I would never have been able to write the story.
No, I know.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Or tell the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty
He would
gratifying.
he could only be so friggin'
I
lucky.
know,
my
no
God,
kidding. I
right?
would have had sex
Girl.
with him too. I was ready to
cannot believe
go.
it. I was like,
I was
really?
ready. I was ready for the
I'm
country.
thinking, damn, if I were him, I'd be sprinting over to that fucking hotel.
No kidding. I was like, this guy is going to need some action.
Seriously.
And then when we spoke a couple times, we spoke and we were texting before he ghosted me.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I'm going to have to become the first lady of New York. Like, how am I going to do this? I was like, with Mike, like the way I talk publicly, I'm like, I can't be a first lady. Like, that's going to conflict with all of my real desires.
Seriously.
I mean, it was just one nonsense thought after another. And I blame COVID for that because if you were single during COVID, which were you single during COVID?
Legally, no, but yes.
Yeah, right. Okay. Were
Yeah.
you single during COVID?
I was, yeah. My
So
boyfriend
you
was
know what
for
I'm
sure.
talking about.
Oh,
that-
I was here all alone
it was-
for months on end.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were?
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
like 4 months.
Oh my God.
Like alone.
that's.
But I was high, so it was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. I was high a lot during COVID too. I did a
Yeah.
lot of mushrooms during COVID.
Yeah.
But then you know what I'm talking about when like I was scared that I might never get penetrated again.
Fair.
When we were dealing with that, because the people who were in relationships were either fucking making each other crazy or
Uh-huh.
falling more deeply in love.
Totally.
And if you were single, you were like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, are we ever going to get back out into the world?
Yeah.
And if we do, like, what kind of, I'm like, I want to be one of the first ones before disease starts spreading.
Seriously.
Because everyone's so horny. From
It-
being
it-
locked inside. Like,
It's
I knew
so
there was going to
true.
just be like a new STD or something that came out.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I was pretty horny for Andrew Cuomo.
That's
and I'm really glad
hilarious.
I didn't have sex with him.
Like in my mind, when I was reading the book, I'm like, is she talking about like Andrew or Chris? Like, is she confused? Because
No.
I'm like, Andrew, like, could only be so lucky.
I know. He dated Sandra Lee before. Remember that chef?
Yep.
She's strange. Anyway, he dated her for a while and then he was single. So it was like a perfect opportunity. But there was this movement, like all my girlfriends also egged me on because they were into him. And you know, when your friends are into someone, it's like when you
Totally.
have a
Take one for
boyfriend
the
that you don't know if
team.
you like and then you bring him around, everyone loves him. You're like, I guess I
Totally.
like you, you know? You kind of are easily influenced.
Yep.
Even though I have a strong personality, I am malleable that way. And so when everyone started liking him, I was like, oh, pressure's on. Now I really got to do it. Like, I got to take one for the team. So yeah, that was a really fun story to write. And it's still a fun story to tell.
Incredible. You've never been married?
No, never.
Do you want to get married?
No,
You don't?
no.
I love that.
I'm not the marrying kind.
Okay. And you've known that since you were little that you didn't want to get married?
I mean, I think when I was little, I must have had fantasies about what it was going to be like to fall in love.
Mm.
And I just remember thinking, I don't want that to, like, happy ever after to me doesn't sound exciting. I want like the beginning of a relationship multiple times in my life, like those first
I
6
get that.
months, a year. That's my favorite zone. And I just want that as many times as possible.
Yeah.
And if I meet someone and it's great and blah, 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 but I highly doubt I would ever get married unless it was to get citizenship somewhere.
She said
Mm.
that up until 4 months ago. So
What do you mean?
you said you would never get married.
I still might not get married. You literally brought this up an hour ago and I said the same thing. I don't want kids. Do you want kids?
No.
Yeah. So for me, I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah, first of all, it's a very antiquated notion. There is no reason to get married. I understand why you would want to get married after a divorce and like everything that happened. I get that because you want like part 2 of your life.
Yes.
But if you haven't been married, there is no and you're not going to have children, there is absolutely no reason. Because first of all, it's so much better to just be constantly auditioning for your spouse. You know what I mean?
I love
want
it.
my spouse to constantly be on like an audition. There is no
Too
guarantee
good.
that we are going to be together in 6 months.
Yeah.
Just because we're married, don't get fucking lazy. And also, it's a little bit more romantic to kind of be permanently engaged.
I could
I
see
think.
that.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
What's the longest relationship you've ever been in?
Let's see. 4 years was my longest.
Good stint.
Was it?
Was
I
that
don't know.
with Joe?
No,
No.
Joe Coy, I dated for less than 1 year. That was
Oh.
11 months to be
Okay.
exact. My longest was with Ted Harbert, who ran E. I was with
Oh,
him
wow.
for 4 years.
Did you guys live together?
Yes, and that's what ruined it.
I was gonna say, do you like living with somebody or no?
And I don't think I would do that again.
Wow.
I wouldn't live with
Yeah.
someone. I need my space. Like I need to be. I'm on the road all the time. I tour all the time. That's pretty much like, and when I come home, I love road life. Like it's exhausting, but I'm totally happy in a nice hotel. Like as happy as I would be at my own house. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Happier because there's room service and all the other nice things.
Yeah.
And but when I come home, I can't have anyone in that space. Like I need to decompress, regroup. I need 48 hours completely alone. And then I can go back out and do my thing and get energized. And I can't have those 2 days have a person there.
I know.
Not
it's a lot.
even
I
someone,
relate to this a lot.
not even somebody who's going down on me every 15 minutes. Like
Yeah.
I don't have the
You're
time
like, you
for
can do that, and then you can leave.
Yeah. So I like vacations with people and I like being on their territory, but especially LA. I don't know if you guys feel this way. I don't like when people visit me in LA and they expect me to like take them around.
Oh,
Where are you supposed to go? I mean, like there's nowhere to go in LA. There's nothing happening really.
Nothing.
I mean, it's a great idea. There's a beach. No one's going there really, typically. Sometimes you'll go to Malibu.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to take people to the La Brea tar pits. Like, I don't understand what people do
It
here
is
besides.
kind of crazy that LA really just, there really isn't
It's a little bit like tragic. Like
very.
there's more to do in Montecito than there is to do in LA. It feels like.
I always say if I were like some person like and spent all my vacation money that I'd worked hard for, and I was going to go to Hollywood and see LA, and like I would be so disappointed.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and I personally love LA. Like
Yeah.
I don't see myself ever leaving LA, but as a tourist, I would be highly disappointed.
I know.
First of all, the homelessness, that's that's not, and it's like the smog. And then also, I also like living here too because my quality of life is nice and
Yeah.
everyone, it is a nice place to live, but to visit, it's just not what you think it is.
Not at all.
And also Sunset Boulevard has turned into like the Vegas Strip. You know what I mean?
It's
Just
crazy.
like fluorescent lights and everything's an ad and you're like,
I
oh my
know.
God.
It's strange,
crazy.
huh?
It is strange. There used to be a bigger, and I don't even think this was while I was alive, but there was glamour and mystique. Like there was
Totally.
It was like, you didn't know everything that you know now. So it's kind of lost its allure in many
know.
respects.
And
Plus-
even the 80s was so sick. Like the strip was so cool.
Yeah,
Like it was,
right.
the music scene there was so amazing. I mean, now it's just like not.
No, it's not. And also people go to bed at 8:00 in LA.
It's
Like
I go to bed.
I go to bed too at 8
When I'm
o'clock
not
when I'm in LA because there's nothing happening. So I'm just going to go to sleep.
There is no nightlife here.
There isn't.
No.
So that's your advertisement for LA, everyone. I'm going to do an endorsement deal with LA,
I mean,
the city.
honestly, I always talk about how much I love. Like I constantly say how much I love it here.
But you love your house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
well,
loves
that's
the
a big
sounds.
component
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, that's
of
true.
course.
Yeah.
And you've been here for a while, so it's totally normal.
Yeah, I've been here forever.
Yeah, totally. You're so funny.
So you know what I'm really not great at? And that is going to the dermatologist, which I need to be better at because I feel like skincare is so important. But most of the time when you call, it takes forever to get in. And it really is just kind of a hassle with everybody's busy schedules. So I love this brand Apostrophe. I have used Apostrophe for quite some time. What I loved is it gives you access to expert dermatologists and their whole team. It's a tailored treatment plan. It's simple to sign up for your first visit. And the best part is there's no in-person appointments. It's amazing. And it comes packaged really cute. It has postcards and stickers. But the best part is the product's just really great, mostly because it's tailor-made for you. I told you Brady's always pointing out my little dark spots, which is so annoying. And when I was just in Nashville, I was like lathering on all my products because Brady's like, your skin's looking dry. And I'm just like, ugh, okay. So anyway, this makes it so easy to take care of your skin. You simply fill out an online consultation about your skin goals and medical history, then snap a few selfies, which we do anyway, and a dermatology provider will create a customized treatment plan just for you and whatever your skin concerns are. We have a special deal for our audience right now. Get your first visit for only $5. Insane. At apostrophe.com/Cyrus when you use our code Cyrus. Again, that's a savings of $15. So this code is only available to our listeners. To get started, just go to apostrophe.com/Cyrus and get started. Then use our code Cyrus at sign up and you'll get your first visit for only $5. I mean, that is amazing. So thank you, Apostrophe, for sponsoring this episode.
When you wrote this book, do you feel like you're closing a chapter on a part of your life and moving into a next, or no?
No, I feel like this book is about like the possibilities and the idea of optimism being a permanent character in your life story, regardless of what's happening in the world or regardless of anything that happens to you personally that you might think is devastating or unrecoverable. I feel like I have learned how to infuse myself with optimism in darkness. And I wanted to kind of share that. Like, don't give up.
Like, I feel like it was meant to be for me to read your book at this moment in my life.
It probably was.
Because, like, I mean, except you, everybody in this room, like, has been with me through, like, the hardest time of my life. Like, the last 7 months, I literally said, like, have been, like, hell.
Harder than your divorce?
Oh, my God.
Really?
Yes. Like it was not okay what I've been through the last 7 months, like really. And I just felt like when I read your book, your outlook on life really did inspire me because I felt like at some points during this time that I was so anxious, and which made me feel depressed. Like I was never coming out of that I didn't have that optimism. Like, and my husband was always like, you've got to have hope. Like you can't not have hope. Like you're drowning. Like, and so reading your book really did give me the way that you had this outlook on life really did make me go, really see that. Like that I need to look at because there's so many positive things. I have a beautiful life,
And also you have to understand another element is like whatever the hardest thing we're going through is, it's never permanent. It doesn't last forever.
That's what he kept telling me and my therapist. And they're like,
Amy.
And you, like everybody around me was
You
saying
get no
that,
credit.
but I just didn't believe it. I'm like, this is my life forever.
Right.
And they're like, it's not.
It's not.
This is a moment in time in your life. And like, you've got to stop thinking that this is forever. But like in my brain at the time, I just couldn't. And now that I'm coming out of it, like I've really, really just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, really started feeling a little bit like myself again.
Wow.
And then when I read your book, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so inspired. Like I really feel like I need to look at this time now and go, who is the woman I want to be? And like, stop being so fearful and afraid and not look at the world differently.
Yeah.
And look at my life and what the outcome can be different.
Yeah. What are the possibilities now?
Yes.
For you? Like now that you've had all this time to reflect and have had the 7 months of not smoking pot and however long it goes on for, like now what are the possibilities instead of going, like even what you were saying, like when can I smoke again? I want to smoke again. Like even just letting go of that and being like,
I know.
Okay, I may smoke again. I may not smoke again. And like releasing that is you releasing something that you're holding on to.
Totally. my therapist says that.
God, I feel like a therapist
Yeah.
I was
right
gonna say,
now.
I feel like if you ever wanted a career change,
That's my
you'd be
whole
a great
podcast, by the way.
therapist.
I do a podcast where all I do is give therapy to people.
Oh.
Or I mean, I give advice to people who call in because clearly I'm
Yeah.
not a therapist, but I do love giving advice. And I
Yeah.
totally hear what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
I can totally relate to what you're saying. And a lot of anxiety comes from like holding on to this idea that you don't want to let go of something.
know.
And it's almost like, it's not almost like it is. I know from my own experience, when you do let go of something, it kind of comes back your way, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when we hold on too tightly to everything.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
So I think, that optimism will be your friend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My therapist is like, you've got to let go that's the only thing that's going to
Yes.
like make you feel better or
Right.
make you get, less anxious. And so it's been a whole thing, but
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like but your book has helped a lot.
Yeah. I really feel like women all across the board, no matter what age, can read your book and just take so much from it.
Totally.
One of the stories, it kind of near the beginning that I loved hearing that I think literally everybody should hear is that when you were first starting out, trying to like build your comedy career here, that you went and did the showcase, is that the right word?
Yeah.
For all of, anybody that was going to hire you or give you a job
Mhm.
and bombed it and
Mhm.
tanked it so
Yes.
badly. And in that moment thought like, well, my career's over before it even started.
Yeah. Worst night of my life.
I'm sure. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, you probably felt like giving up and being like, well, all right, well, that's not going to work out for me now.
Mhm.
And then the next day, you got that call and then you ended up booking a show out of it. And I think it's just goes to show that I'm sure everybody can relate to times where it feels like my life is over. This is the worst day ever. This is the worst thing that could have happened to me. But it's actually a blessing in disguise because it puts you on the path you were supposed to be on.
Mhm.
And I really
that's hard
love that
advice
about
to
it.
take sometimes, when things don't
Totally.
go your way. It's like
Mhm.
when people say everything happens for a reason or whatever, you're like, shut.
No.
Not everything is happening for a fucking reason. What's the reason? Like, what this has nothing to do with me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't buy that everything is happening for a reason, but I think a lot of things are happening for a reason. But I don't like to look at everything like, oh, this is some things just happen because whatever. But I do think that it's such an important, that's why I wanted to share that story so much, is because I really thought like it was a 72-hour difference in time
Yeah.
between my life being over and my life beginning again.
It's crazy.
And
it's like only if you could have zoomed out and seen that
I know,
in the moment,
I know.
But
And
if you could have, then you would have done it differently. And so
And
It's
even
just-
then, it's like, what was the point of that? What was all
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Did it teach me humility? Probably not. I don't think I learned that until I was like 40, Like, I don't know what the point of it still is. But it's definitely a nice story. I know I always feel comforted when I hear people, tell me stories about almost losing hope and then surviving something or getting great news, right? Great news can always be right around the corner from terrible news. So we've kind of always get stuck and, you can get in victim mode easily. I certainly have done that in my life.
Totally.
And I don't ever want to be like that again.
Yeah.
I hope that is extinguished for good. And we've all been around people. This is such a pretty table. We've all been around people who are in victim mode, and like it's hard, it's hard to get out of that.
It is. That's the one thing I did not want to be too. And Dom always told me to zoom out. He'd be like,
Interesting.
okay, zoom out.
Yeah.
Like, let's,
Yeah.
because I was so in it.
Yeah, well, you fixate on just such specific things.
I really do.
It's a little nuts.
Yeah.
Love you so much, but just
I do.
fixates. Well, should we play a little What's the Tea with
Oh,
Chelsea?
yeah. Let me get my glass.
We have a little game we play. It used to be so much more fun.
Yeah, it used to be called Truth or Toe.
Yeah, and you either answer or you smoke weed or both, but just a little more PG these days. Maybe someday we'll go back to Truth or Toe.
And you don't have to answer these if you don't want to. What's the most awkward encounter you've had with a celebrity at an event?
Well, it wasn't at an event, but it was at CAA, the offices of CAA. I was walking into my agent's office my agent's office, and Tom Cruise was walking in, and I had just like gotten done making fun of him on my talk show. I was constantly making fun of Scientology and calling them out. And I was walking out of his office and Tom Cruise was walking in. And if you've ever met Tom Cruise in person, he is magnetic. He has like a magnetic field around him that is like, he's intense. Like he has a high vibration. And I was like, I don't want him to have to see me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh no, like he's not going to like this. But he did. He just was like in my face and hello, Chelsea. And
Wow.
it's really nice to meet you. And da-da-da. And I'm like, really nice to meet you. I just
Really
got
it
done making
is?
fun of you and Katie Holmes and your fake baby or whatever that's going on there at the time. And that was very awkward because I just wanted to hide under the desk. Like I couldn't believe my agent would have let the
Literally
timing
happen.
happen like that. I'm like, how could you do that?
That is hilarious.
And then I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, is he trying to intimidate me? Like, is he trying to let me know, like, cool it about Scientology? And I have no idea. I mean, it was a very harmless hello, goodbye. So I don't think he was trying to intimidate me, but I was definitely like, it was the first time I had come face to face with one of my victims. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. If you could spill one secret about Hollywood parties, what would it be?
The secret is there's not as much fun as there used to be.
Totally.
Like people are,
say
a lot of people are sober, you know? And
Especially, honestly, the younger generation,
Yeah.
like they really are, like they are more sober.
yeah, it's not like I almost wish I had been born during a different era, you know?
Yeah.
Like I would have liked to like come up in the 90s or something. Like that would have been my scene, you
Yeah.
know?
Totally.
Bad fashion and lots of drugs. But yeah, things have gotten pretty kind of
It's true.
stale.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, I haven't been to one of P. Diddy's parties, so I'm sure they have more secrets.
He used to live next door to us.
Oh my God,
Crazy.
really?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, not him.
His-
Kim.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Three doors down. And the day that she passed, I'll never forget because there were helicopters
Oh
everywhere.
God.
Yeah.
But literally, my kids grew up playing with his kids because they were two doors down.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Not me.
whoa.
I was out of the house.
Yeah, you were.
Oh, good for you.
Now it's like,
Don't drag me into
whoa.
that.
How old were you when you got out of the house?
Oh, 18.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
where did you go?
Well,
College.
yeah, we like the year I went to college was the year Miley got Hannah Montana.
Okay.
So I had already applied to college in Tennessee. They moved the whole family out here. I went to school for a year and then moved out here. And then my brother Trace and I shared a 1-bedroom apartment in Valencia for the worst year of my life. That was fun.
After,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you didn't finish college? You went for
No,
1
I got
year?
the hell out of there
Yeah.
so fast. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I did. I
Why
know.
was it the worst year of your life?
living with my brother in a 1-bedroom apartment in Valencia?
Oh, Valencia. Well, you didn't have
There's
to.
a lot of
You just say Valencia.
Yeah.
It's a
Valencia,
tricky.
1-bedroom.
Yeah.
That was,
I had a friend who lived there.
it was not good.
Yeah, it was rough.
Who's the most unexpected person who's ever slid into your DMs?
I mean, I slide into a lot of people's DMs.
Do
so
you?
I'm
That's,
prob-
I
that's
love
why
that.
how I got my husband.
Is it?
Yeah, my friend said, I was going through my divorce, and my friend said, if you could date anyone, who would it be? And I was like, my all-time crush has always been Dominic Purcell because I was a huge Prison Break fan. I don't know if you saw Prison
Yeah.
Break. And I was extremely stoned. And she was like, you got to DM him right now. And I did. And he said, had a crush on you forever. We met up like 2 days later, and now we're married.
Oh my God.
Is that
wild?
crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Nuts.
I love that.
It was amazing because he had DM'd me like in 2016 and I didn't see it. And then I tried to DM him back in 2017 just to say hi because I was obsessed with the show. And we were together.
No, I know.
And-
And she was blocked.
And I was like, he doesn't
From
have
him?
Yeah. I was like, he doesn't have Instagram anymore. And Brandy
I was
looks
like,
it
yeah,
up
he
and she was
does.
like, yeah, he does. His girlfriend at the time saw he DM'd me and blocked me.
Oh, how funny.
So this is like a 5-year thing. But yeah, so I DM'd him.
Oh,
and
I
we've-
love this.
We've been
story.
together ever since.
That is so cute.
Yeah.
so funny. Have you when you set your eyes on a guy?
Yeah, I
send him
like
a
to
D-
just
you
say,
send
like,
him a
put it
DM
out
and say,
there. Like, hey, do you want to?
Love it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've definitely had sex with people that way. Not a ton of celebrities. It's not like that. But if I'm on Instagram and I'm following a guy that I like, I'll
Mhm.
definitely like go in there and be like, hey, what's up?
Love.
Yeah.
I love it
That's
so much.
see, it's so unlike me. Like
But that sounds like it
But
was kind
I-
of
it
meant
was-
to be.
that wasn't meant to be.
That wasn't
Yeah.
meant to
Yeah.
be.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
What's a rumor about yourself that you wish was true?
That I had vaginal surgery. Wait, what it was the rumor? Perez Hilton, when I first became
Oh my
successful.
God.
Our least favorite person.
I know, he's the worst. He's so annoying.
Bad. Just bad.
Terrible all around. But when I first got Chelsea lately, I was on TV. Oh, he spread a rumor that I had vaginal rejuvenation surgery, something that wouldn't even apply to, like, I've never even had a baby. Why would I have
How old that you would have been so young?
vaginal rejuvenation
do that.
surgery? But I did have, I had this thing that I said to him. I guess I had him on or something, and I called him. You know how he's so kind of slimy, like he'll once you're in front of him, he's like, "Well," like he's like flirting about it. You're like, you're the least flirtatious person of all time. Don't flirt. But he said something like, he intimated that he had this like inside track, and I'm like, I'm me, and I know what happened. And if I had any sort of vaginal rejuvenation surgery, I would know about it. So like, there's just nothing you can prove about it. And it's not something I wish I had done. It just was such a silly rumor.
I have 2 friends that have done that, by the way.
What, vaginal rejuvenation?
And I'm like, that is fucking insane.
No, it wasn't that.
Like
it was something about
72 stitches down there does not sound.
No.
I'm like, wow.
But that's what you do after you have a baby, right? Vaginal rejuvenation?
I guess.
Unless you have just a big, huge pussy, then
I guess they do that, but this was for, like, my friend told me hers looks like she's 16 again, and I'm like, I don't know that I want that.
I don't know that. I mean, anyone's vagina could take such a beating that it would just enlarge like that.
It was so insane.
Yeah, no, I forget what my point was, but anyway, that was a rumor that was really funny.
Wow.
Anything else I wish about me that is true? I don't know. I don't really listen to that much stuff about myself.
Funny. I love it.
Oh, it's me.
It's you.
Let's see. Oh, this might be good. If you had to call one ex and tell them to read your book, who would it be?
Andre Balazs, because he's represented in there, but he's disguised.
Oh, got it.
So he would
know it if you read it.
Yeah, he would know it if he read it.
Yeah, that's good. Are there any 50 Cent songs about you, or do you want any of them to be about you?
He once wrote me a song, but I don't think he ever released it. He played it for me. He wrote me when we were dating, and our little stint. He wrote me a song, but he's a sweetheart. So I will trust him to write a song about me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He used to call me, or he's called me in the press after we dated Gator, because he said I slashed around like in bed so much. And I thought that was really cute. I was like, that's
that.
cute. I was like, write a song about it.
That is cute.
Gator.
Hello.
Have you ever made a joke on stage that you regretted the moment you said it?
No, I can't think of a time, but I mean, I'm sure I did. Well, it's funny. It's like either I did it during a time where I had no regret, or I became more self-aware and realized to stop doing it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like those 2 things never like met. So 2 different circumstances.
This one's funny. What's the pettiest reason you've ever ended a relationship?
Shoes.
That's a valid one.
That
Really?
is totally
My
valid.
I can really get the ick.
Yeah.
With the wrong pair of shoes on a man or a woman. Like
Once you get the ick, too.
Well, the ick is really tricky.
It is. What else is up there with it?
So
Ick list?
many things, like gesticulations with your hand, hygiene,
Yeah.
teeth,
Yep.
like hair on the neck that's not trimmed.
Oh.
Like when there's like,
Yes.
that right there that grows down.
But
Sideburns, no, I don't like
No,
those.
no.
There's so many icks. Men with jeans that don't fit well
Oh,
are
I
disgusting.
cannot
That disgusts
deal.
me.
Especially if they're too tight and it's
Too tight. Oh yeah,
Oh.
big bubble butts.
But
That's
I
too much for
cannot
me.
even deal.
I mean,
Okay,
I could
so
go,
no hockey
Yeah,
players.
breath.
I mean-
If I can
Ooh.
smell your breath, it's
Oh,
over.
Yeah, no.
Like even if we're kissing, I don't want to smell your breath.
But shoes is a big one.
Shoes and bad clothing.
Yes.
Like bad clothing. I'm not into vests when men wear vests.
I am dead.
I cannot deal.
See, I'm not into flip flops. Like
I hate
fucking
flip
hate
flops.
'em.
I hate flip
only
flops.
can do like the flip, like Dom surfs, and so, but
What are those?
no, Dom's he's
I know
a
what
surfer.
she's gonna say.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. When
like
they're on
the
the beach.
Javiana,
I hate them.
Okay,
But if you're gonna
it's
wear
better than those rainbow
it's
leather.
better than the
Those
leather
are
ones with
horrible.
the leather flip flops. Those are really off
I
limits,
cannot
especially on
deal.
planes. When people wear flip flops
Ooh,
on
they're
planes,
so
I want to
bad.
press charges.
I know.
And also, how do you feel about a Birkenstock?
I don't like them.
Okay, but I think that's a better alternative than a flip flop. Also,
Maybe the clog.
clog?
The clog Birkenstock. Like the closed toe.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I can get down with that one, but like the 2 strap.
Oh my god,
No,
I cannot deal.
no.
No.
That is too freaking good. I think it's your turn.
Oh, it is. But
Yeah.
oh, I'm so glad she said shoes because honestly,
I know. It's a
men's
big one.
clothing can go so bad.
Also, when we're like when they have zippers on their pants,
Ah,
I don't like that.
that
Like if
can,
the zipper is here, that's one thing, but it
Sure.
shouldn't be another zipper
No other
anywhere.
zippers.
No
Yeah.
zippers.
Oh, it's so good.
I like when people also really take care of their teeth, men. Like you have to have dental hygiene. You have to know about flossing, possibly a tongue scraper. That would be nice if you knew about that as well. But if people who don't know how to floss, I'm
I
like,
was
what are you
cracking
doing?
up at the flossing stories in the book.
Well, how could you have food stuck in your teeth and for days and
It
not try
was
to get it
so
out? Why would you
funny.
do that?
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Who's the most surprising person you've ever bonded with over weed, or has there been someone?
Over weed? God, so many people.
I know, right?
Well, George W. Bush at his house
Oh,
in
yeah.
Winkenny-Bunkport, when I
Yeah.
told him I was high, I was on like 4 edibles that day.
I am
And
so
he
dead.
he was like, "Can you please take your sunglasses off?" when he was showing me his art
Yeah.
collection. And I was like, "No, Mr.
No.
President, I'm as high as a kite right now." Because I reflexively wanted to be honest. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
let me lay it out for you out of respect for the office.
Absolutely.
You know, and so and he was like, like he was jealous. He was like, I wish
so
I was
bad he
high too,
was
you know?
jealous.
So that was cute.
that
Oh
is
my God.
hilarious.
Yeah, so that was
Um,
unexpected. And I felt like we
good.
bonded in that moment.
Yes.
It was a one-sided high bond. All right, last one. If you could have one comedian roast you, who would you trust to do it?
Who would I trust to do it? Oh God, I don't know. I guess Jeffrey Ross. I would
That's a
trust
good one.
him. Yeah. I mean, he's somebody you can't really ever get mad at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
If he went too far, I wouldn't be mad at him.
I don't get the whole roast thing.
it's
like,
it's pretty brutal.
I'm
It
like,
is
why
brutal.
would you ever want to have someone roast you in front of like,
Good question.
I mean,
It
like,
depends on how much we're getting paid.
I-
You know?
not for me. I'm like,
yeah, I don't know why you would choose to have that done.
I just
Like,
don't get
It's
it.
pretty much a lose-lose situation unless you're trying to demonstrate to the world
Totally.
that you have a great sense of humor.
yeah, I
you know what I
guess,
mean?
right?
Yeah,
Like-
like I could not take that.
I know. It would be terrible.
Yeah,
It
I
would
would
be
hate
funny
it.
though. So we have a segment called Dear MT where the stoners call in and ask for Tish's advice.
Okay, great.
God bless them. I don't know why. And so we've got one that's just like a written in message, and feel free to chime in if
I
you have
will.
any advice. They want to know how do I wean off of weed while still smoking it?
That is a good freaking question. Let me know, because let me freaking know.
I think I will say that if you reduce the amount of weed you're smoking, cut it in half and keep cutting it in half.
yeah.
That's good.
And that's how you wean yourself.
Yeah.
That's actually the definition of weaning.
No, and I also think that a part of my psychological break, of which tomorrow after this airs, everything is going to be Tish had a psychological breakdown.
That'll
Calm
be the
down.
headlines.
Everybody calm. Like I've said that before. Like jokingly, like I had a mental break, and it was like depressed,
yeah, right,
like calm. But I do think because I went from smoking so much to like on vacation without it, then tried to smoke and couldn't, went from smoking for 10 years, like hard freaking core to none, was not good. Like I definitely think I
Right,
had
right.
severe withdrawals.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should give that's exactly right. And you're supposed to wean yourself of
Yeah.
most things, especially if you've, you might be addicted to it. Like
Totally.
there's people. I have a friend who tried to get sober and he had to like wean himself off of alcohol instead of
Absolutely.
just stopping drinking. So yeah, that's totally,
I think
understandable.
yeah, anything.
And
like,
that also has a whole traumatizing impact on you as well.
totally. My therapist still says, let's not forget you smoked for 10 years. You've been going through something for 7 months. Like your
Right.
body was completely used to
Mm-hmm.
THC, like,
Yes.
and your body is like screaming for it.
Yeah.
And so like this has it's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, for sure. Good for you though.
So
I mean, I
Well-
know you didn't ask for it, but it's good. You're surviving it.
I'm
I know.
and you're
surviving.
thriving.
I'm I'm starting to thrive again.
Yeah.
So
Well, when you start smoking weed again,
Yes.
you'll be the first phone call.
Please, yeah, let me
Seriously.
know.
To
I'll
come
guide, I'll
back.
guide you to make sure you don't have a paranoid
totally
break, a paranoid
Yeah.
break.
exactly.
Chelsea, thank you so much for coming on. This has
Oh
been
my
so
God,
fun.
so much fun, ladies. I had such a good time.
You're welcome back anytime.
I'm eager to
Thank
come
you.
back and
to hang.
and just
Yeah.
to talk drugs.
I know.
because
Whatever.
I'm so interested in like LSD and all this stuff.
Yeah, well,
That's
I'm your
enough.
girl.
There you
That's
go.
the next pod.
Okay, well, thank you for having me,
Of
ladies.
course. And I haven't finished your book, so I'm so excited to finish it on my flight home. Let the stoners know when it's coming out one more time and where they can find it and where they can keep up with what you have coming up next.
My book will be available at all bookstores, Amazon, and all independent bookstores. Please shop there when you can. All the usual places. It comes out February 25th on my 50th birthday. It's called
Wow.
I'll Have What She's Having.
Amazing.
So good.
And
It
you
is
can
so
find me
good.
on Instagram like everyone else.
Yes.
Like
Chelsea has it.
everyone else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can't wait and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, girls.
See you guys.
This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation and Hopetown Entertainment.